My name is Ava Torres, and I am 33. 2 months ago, on a bright Saturday in Manhattan, my entire family abandoned my rooftop wedding. 50 chairs remained empty while a string quartet played to no one, and I stared at the skyline wondering how love could look so vacant. You should know this was not their first disappearing act. My sister Sienna has always been the golden child, racking up millions of followers with pastel-filtered family values posts. Whenever she needed a down payment for a condo, custom roses for her own ceremony, our parents praised her sparkle and handed me the bill. Dad once phoned at midnight, begging for $12,000 to save the ministry. While Mom swore it was God's will I cover the charge. I wired the money, and they never mentioned it again. That pattern stretched over years. Their crisis. My wallet. Zero gratitude. What they never noticed was what I built in silence. By day, I prosecute white-collar crime for the United States Attorney's Office. By night, I catalog every receipt, text, and voicemail they leave behind. I know the shell companies, the hidden accounts, and the dates donations vanished from church ledgers. When they ditched my wedding, they did more than humiliate me. They verified every suspicion I had been documenting for a decade. This is not simple revenge. It is about reclaiming respect, drawing boundaries, and proving that family titles do not excuse exploitation. If you want to hear how a TikTok livestream, an Internal Revenue Service investigation, and a Thanksgiving raid exposed the truth, hit subscribe now because the ending will leave you questioning every perfect family photo you have ever scrolled past. I grew up in a sun-bleached duplex on the fringe of Orlando, the kind of place where grass turns brown by midsummer, and theme park fireworks crackle every night at 9. Out front sat a sagging mailbox painted with our last name, Torres, in fading gold letters. Inside, our family rotated around one sparkling center, my younger sister Sienna. Dad served as an associate pastor at Bright Life Christian Center, a megachurch that filled 10,000 seats on Easter Sunday. Mom handled the books in a cramped office that smelled of copier toner and burnt coffee. Parishioners saw a humble ministry family behind closed doors. My parents enjoyed a generous blend of housing credits and travel stipends that kept the lights bright at home. Sienna basked in that glow, believing it pure daylight. I learned to navigate in the shadow. The favoritism started small, like loose change slipped into one sibling's pocket. On Sienna's 16th birthday, Dad surprised her with a candy-red Volkswagen Beetle. License plate reading, his joy. He said good daughters deserve safe cars. That same month, I applied for a bus pass so I could reach my after-school job at the public library. When I asked why only one of us received wheels, Mom patted my hand and whispered, "You are practical, sweetheart. You do not need flashy things." 2 years later, I won first place at the state debate finals. The event ended on a Saturday night. The next morning, I opened my phone to find my entire family live-streaming Sienna's pageant walk at Miss Teen Sunshine. Dad called her victory a testimony of grace. My trophy reached the top of the fridge, wedged behind a box of cereal. College magnified the gap. Yale Law awarded me a scholarship, but tuition still demanded loans and late-night shifts at the campus dining hall. Graduation arrived in May. Rain misted over New Haven while my name rang across the commencement lawn. I searched the crowd for 2 familiar faces. They were not there. A friend handed me a phone. Mom had posted beach photos captioned, "Family Cruise Blessed." The timestamp matched my ceremony almost to the minute. 3 days after graduation, I moved to Harlem to start work at the Neighborhood Justice Clinic, earning $38,000 a year. Rent drained 2/3 of each paycheck. Even so, Dad rang me that August, voice thick with urgency. A building permit for the church fellowship hall was delayed, and a late fee of $12,000 threatened his vision from God. I wired the money before sunrise and spent the next month living on oatmeal and discount produce. He never mentioned the debt again. I wish I could say that was the worst of it. But the pattern marched forward. When Sienna married Dylan Rhodes, an aspiring real estate mogul with a flicker of old money, I flew to Phoenix for the wedding. The night before the ceremony, Mom discovered the florist refused her church credit card. Without hesitation, she used my corporate Amex on file at the boutique. $9,000 in white roses and peonies posted to my account by dawn. She claimed she had no choice. Surely her responsible daughter would understand. I swallowed the protest and paid the balance. By my 29th year, I had become the family's unofficial line of credit. When Dad's vintage motorcycle restoration stalled, I covered $1,400 in parts. When Mom wanted to attend a women's retreat in Maui, I footed $5,000 for airfare and a beachfront Airbnb. Each time I asked for documentation, they answered with scripture verses about cheerful giving. I started saving screenshots of every request. The most brazen example arrived last Thanksgiving. My parents decided the family should gather in New York for a tourist-thankful weekend. They invited themselves, Sienna, and Dylan, and forwarded the hotel link. I reserved 3 Parkview suites at the Conrad Midtown. 5 nights. $14,500. Charged to me. They breezed through lobby check-in, thanked the Lord for provision, and never glanced at the receipt. On Sunday evening, they presented me with a handwritten bill for their Broadway tickets and Uber rides. Another $1,100. I paid. Then I walked 30 blocks home in freezing rain, rehearsing closing arguments in my head so I would not scream. These favors were not one-off moments. They formed a ledger in my mind, a living document of imbalance. I remember every figure because I wrote them down, pen and paper first. Then encrypted spreadsheets. $24,000 for Dad's unfinished kitchen renovation. $9,400 for Sienna's bridal shower designer cake. $12,000 for a ministry emergency that looks suspiciously like a lake house rental on Instagram. Outside the family bubble, I was forging my own path. The neighborhood justice clinic led me to federal clerkships, then to the United States Attorney's Office. My paychecks grew, but so did student loan interest and Manhattan rent. I rose before dawn, laced running shoes, and chased the Hudson River current until the sun soaked the city in amber light. That hour alone kept me sane. By 7 o'clock, I was suited, caffeinated, and seated in court, cross-examining executives who believed no one would notice missing digits on a balance sheet. I noticed numbers are stories, and I learned to read them fluently. Evan Neal, a senior investigator in our office, became my closest ally. He once joked that I logged evidence the way grandmothers preserve jams airtight, labeled, and ready for winter. He did not know how literal that was. Every text from Mom, every voicemail from Dad, each Venmo request from Sienna, I captured and filed. Over time, the folder tree resembled a forest. Yet the strangest part of those years was not the money itself. It was the emotional debt. Gratitude never arrived. My parents praised Sienna for sharing authentic joy online, while they framed my reliability as ordinary duty. If I expressed fatigue, Dad reminded me that the Lord loves a cheerful giver. If I asked for repayment, Mom suggested I pray on my priorities. Eventually, I stopped asking and started planning. By 32, I held 3 things they did not recognize: prosecutorial authority, a growing mastery of digital forensics, and a patient anger cooled into resolve. I learned to trace shell corporations through layered bank accounts, to unmask Bitcoin tumblers, and to subpoena payment processors under seal. Every new skill felt like a brick in a foundation only I could see. Meanwhile, Sienna's social media empire ballooned. She crossed the 1 million follower mark with a sponsored video unboxing a chrome-wrapped Cadillac Escalade gifted to Dad for Father's Day. The license plate read, "His Joy," same as her teenage Beetle. Viewers wept emoji, tears of admiration. I watched the clip twice, saved it, and added it to a folder titled Exhibits. The groundwork was set, though none of us knew how soon it would matter. My wedding date approached. Saturday, October 9th. I ignored a knot in my chest while finalizing rooftop arrangements at the Greystone Hotel. 50 invitations printed on thick ivory card. Each cost $8.50. I paid them gladly. I believed, perhaps naively, that this milestone would force my family to show up for me the way I had shown up for them. Surely they would not turn away from vows spoken under an open sky. I was wrong. Of course, you already know they never arrived. But that rooftop catastrophe did something their lifetime of smaller slights could not. It handed me unimpeachable proof, framed by the Empire State Building and scored with Bach. From that moment, my private dossier shifted from quiet insurance to active blueprint. The next 48 hours brought silence from their phones and lightning in my mind. I shut down shared credit lines, revoked account access, and informed my accountant that no future transfers to the Torres family were authorized without my written consent. Then I opened the evidence folders, selected every file marked Priority 1, and started mapping connections. Money trails emerged, like neon tubing in the dark, donations siphoned from Bright Life, funneled through Sunva Construction, landing in an offshore account under Mom's maiden name. The dates mirrored Sienna's biggest Instagram milestones. Church generosity funded influencer hashtags. I typed late into each night. The city humming below my window. By dawn, I jogged the river, lungs burning. Resolve steady. Paper trust was gone, replaced by digital certainty. But they did not know what I was building, and they had no idea how quickly those bricks would rise into walls they could not breach. The Monday after the wedding, Manhattan looked normal: yellow cabs, coffee carts, endless sirens, but I felt like someone had peeled the skin off the map and shown me the wiring underneath. I slipped on my navy suit, walked into the United States Courthouse on Pearl Street, and cross-examined a bond trader as if nothing in my life had exploded. Outwardly calm, inwardly done. That night, Dad left a voicemail full of theatrics. He claimed travel delays and begged another chance at a family dinner. I pressed delete, not pause. For the first time in 33 years, I did not offer an immediate rescue. 48 hours later, he tried a second tactic. "Sweetheart, the church insurance premium is due just $8,000. I archived the message into a folder labeled Evidence Emotional Leverage and sent no reply. The silence tasted like oxygen. With every ignored call, I redirected energy toward a single objective: complete financial autonomy. First, I cut bleeding lines. The family had long piggybacked on my platinum mileage card. I closed the account and opened a new one in my married name, Ava Torres Grant. Within a week, automated email receipts from boutique flower shops and luxury ride shares stopped cluttering my inbox. Next came income expansion. I volunteered for the prosecution team on Fairlane Securities, a complex insider trading case most attorneys avoided because the data dump exceeded 3 terabytes. I love puzzles. By the second weekend, I located the smoking gun Slack thread, and the lead partner quietly noted my name for bonus consideration. Skill building followed money. I enrolled in Fordham's night course on blockchain forensics. 3 hours every Tuesday. Tuition came straight from my emergency fund. $2,400 well spent. By midterm, I could unwind a crypto laundering tumbler in under 20 minutes. At home, I practiced by tracing Sunva Construction's payments through offshore hops. The path glowed on my monitor like an interstate at midnight. Each dotted line proof my parents treated tithe dollars as an endless ATM. I also strengthened my physical base. Dawn run stretched from 3 miles to 5. Then 7. The rhythm settled my nerves and sharpened focus. Asphalt became metronome. Breath became strategy. I recorded split times in a slim moleskin, the same notebook that held running totals of family withdrawals. $24,000 for Dad's kitchen remodel, $12,000 for the ministry penalty, $9,000 for Sienna's roses. Seeing those figures beside mile splits reminded me progress is measurable, whether physical or financial. Meanwhile, my family's denial bloomed on social media. Mom shared scripture memes about unity. Dad preached a sermon called The Cost of Bitterness, conspicuously removed from YouTube comments. Sienna, ever radiant, posted a gym selfie captioned unbothered and blessed, yet her eyes looked puffy, and follower engagement dipped for the first time in a year. I captured the analytics chart, filed it under influence erosion. One evening in late October, Dylan Sienna's husband called from an unknown number. His tone suggested equal parts curiosity and dread. Ava, listen? The refinance on our Williamsburg condo is stuck. Any idea why the underwriter flagged charitable fund headlines? I leaned against my kitchen counter, let the silence stretch, then said, I have no insight. But you might ask your accountant about Sunva Construction. I hung up before he formed a second question. That 30-second call confirmed my investigation's reach beyond bloodlines. Collateral damage was real, and I would not shield adults from consequences they earned. By Halloween, the blueprint solidified. Phase 1, collect ironclad financial proof of fraud. Phase 2, secure whistleblower protection and submit evidence. Phase 3, expose Sienna's hypocrisy with her own curated footage. Phase 4, withdraw remaining emotional capital, leaving them to reckon with legal debt. The pieces clicked faster than expected. Evan verified my spreadsheets, tracing suspicious wire transfers through correspondent banks in Luxembourg and Barbados. Together we drafted a concise narrative. Church donations, bogus contractor, personal luxuries. The file ran 82 pages. Dense but irrefutable. At dawn on November 1st, I printed the packet, signed under penalty of perjury, and slipped it into a certified mail envelope bound for the Internal Revenue Service whistleblower office in Ogden, Utah. Walking to the post office, I felt something like grief, but cleaner an ending that made room for air. I pictured my younger self, the girl who loaned $500 from a diner paycheck and prayed her parents would notice her effort. I told her, quietly, you are done proving love through invoices. That night, rain hammered the windows while I drafted new boundaries. No shared accounts. No emotional labor without reciprocity. No explanations for choices that protect my peace. I sealed the rules with one last act, blocking every family profile on my phone. Their digital faces vanished, and the apartment settled into a silence that sounded, finally, like home. November arrived crisp and electric, as if the city itself could sense something rumbling under its pavement. While maple leaves skittered across courthouse steps, my blueprint shifted from theory to action. The first domino toppled on Monday, November 8th. Our office delivered closing arguments in United States v. Fairlane Securities, a case so dense with spreadsheets that most attorneys treated it like radioactive waste. I walked the jury through an 18-minute timeline, highlighted a single Slack message, load the order book before market open, and rested. 2 hours later, the foreperson returned 5 guilty verdicts. Reporters clustered in the marble lobby. A Wall Street Journal headline the next morning called the win surgical. Behind the paywall, An analyst predicted the government's fines could exceed $120 million. My supervisors hinted that my year-end bonus might land just south of six figures. That victory financed the next brick of independence: real estate. The following Friday, I drove north on the Taconic Parkway until skyscrapers shrank to barns. In the village of Tivoli, I toured a 19th century farmhouse, all white clapboard and weathered red doors. 7 acres. 2 maples out front. A crumbling stone wall begging for restoration. The asking price set at $489,000. I offered $460 in cash savings, plus a modest mortgage, and closed within 10 days. At night, I scrolled architectural forums, learning how to shore up beams and refinish heart pine floors. Owning land felt like holding time itself. While my world expanded, my family's orbit tightened. Sienna's sponsored posts slipped in engagement, comments turned skeptical. Someone compiled screen captures of her Maldives honeymoon, the private jet upgrade, the emerald earrings, and paired each image with IRS Form 990 summaries showing Bright Life's mission fund dips on identical dates. The thread bounced from Reddit to Twitter. Sienna answered with a chirpy video about internet trolls, but her voice quavered. Mom doubled down on denial. She uploaded a devotional titled, "Let Nothing Disturb Your Peace," while quietly emailing me a list of talking points she wanted me to share if journalists called. I did not respond. Dad prepared a sermon series called Grace in Trials, though rumors said attendance had dropped by half. Dylan texted again, this time from a different number, begging for clarity about condo refinancing. Silence remained my only reply. Meanwhile, I invested in skills as deliberately as others gather vacation photos. Tuesday nights belonged to blockchain forensics, where I learned how to untangle Monero mixers and trace Ethernet-level packets. Wednesday mornings, I met with a voice coach $200 an hour to polish the steady cadence needed when you dismantle someone's life in public without raising your pulse. Every small improvement felt like winding a clock. When the hour struck, each gear would mesh perfectly. The clock's chime came sooner than I expected. On November 16th, Mom called from an unfamiliar Orlando landline. Her tone sounded rehearsed, equal parts contrition and sales pitch. "Thanksgiving is next week," she said. "Let's put all misunderstandings aside and gather around the table." I agreed, but only on my terms. Dinner at a penthouse owned by Michael's best friend. Guest list curated by me. Arrival time sharp at 11 a.m. She accepted without haggling. That alone told me desperation had cracked her armor. That same evening, the Internal Revenue Service Criminal Investigation Division emailed to confirm that a federal magistrate had approved warrants for Bright Life Christian Center, my parents' home, and any location where they might store electronic records. Execution date: Thursday, November 25th, Thanksgiving morning. The irony tasted almost sweet. To ensure the public component, I needed a spark that would catch before the raid. The answer sat in Sienna's own camera roll. Months earlier, in a brief fit of generosity, she had asked me to edit her best moments compilation. She shared an external drive without noticing it contained raw footage from Cabo. Late-night balcony kisses with a fitness influencer. Timestamps lining up with Dad's emergency building fund transfers. I clipped 3 minutes of undeniable intimacy and loaded the file into a hidden folder on Sienna's Dropbox, set to autoplay whenever she opened her streaming software. On Wednesday, November 24th, she went live for her usual Wellness Wednesday. Viewers topped 350,000. 2 minutes in, the balcony clip rolled behind her like a movie trailer. Gasps flooded the chat. Sienna's face drained of color. She fumbled for the mouse and killed the stream. But screenshots already ricocheted across the internet. Brands issued values alignment reviews within an hour. Her management firm tweeted a placeholder statement about edited misinformation. Yet the damage was immediate and viral. I spent that night finalizing seating charts for Thanksgiving. 40 colleagues from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Michael's law school friends, and Evan posted near the door with a discreet GoPro. The guest list, on paper, looked like a jury of peers and witnesses. Before sunrise, I jogged the Hudson one last time. The river dark and calm, city lights flickering in reflection. Each stride echoed the same thought. The reliable daughter had become the quiet architect. Walls were up, gates locked, evidence cataloged. All that remained was to open the door and let the reckoning walk through. Thanksgiving dawns crystal cold, the kind of New York morning that sharpens every edge of the skyline. By 8 o'clock, the penthouse on Riverside Drive smells of citrus brine and buttered sage. Michael's best friend Jeremy owns the place. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the Hudson, while a private chef bastes 2 20-pound turkeys. 40 chairs circle a walnut table. Most seats belong to Assistant U.S. attorneys, investigators, and clerks, the very people who spend their careers studying evidence and motive. Evan plants a GoPro on a sideboard. Red light steady. At 10:45, I check my phone. The Internal Revenue Service team just completed the church search in Orlando. Next stop, according to the warrant, is any premises where Robert or Elena Torres are present. That will be here. My pulse is calm, almost detached. Months of dawn runs have trained my heart for endurance. 11 on the dot. The elevator chimes. The doors slide open to reveal my parents and Sienna. Dad wears a dove-gray suit that once screamed authority. Today, it looks a size too large. Mom clutches a foil-wrapped pumpkin pie, her smile brittle. Sienna's designer coat hangs like armor, eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses, even indoors. Dylan is conspicuously absent. Small talk never has a chance to spark. A second elevator dings. Out step 3 agents in navy jackets marked criminal investigation. The lead agent, Special Agent Morris, announces, pursuant to federal search warrant 09-3862, we are here to seize electronic devices and financial records belonging to Robert and Elena Torres. Conversations freeze, wine glasses hover midair. Dad sputters a protest about pastoral privilege. Agent Morris produces a signature page from Judge Alvarez, date stamped that morning. Then requests all phones and laptops immediately. Evan, perfectly neutral, offers butcher paper to label every device for the chain of custody log. Mom's hand shakes so hard she drops her iPhone. The screen spiderwebs on imported marble. GoPro light keeps blinking. Shock melts into denial. Dad pivots toward me, voice pitched for pity. Ava, honey, tell them this is a misunderstanding. Calmly. I pull a slim folder from my handbag, photocopies of wire transfers from Bright Life to Sunva Construction. These are the misunderstandings, I say. Agent Morris. Identical originals are already logged in your evidence portal. The room exhales a collective "oh." Sienna rips off her sunglasses. You set me up, she hisses, loud enough for microphones. Her phone buzzes in an evidence bag. A notification banner flashes breaking. Influencer marriage in crisis. I almost feel sorry until she adds, you were jealous of my platform. I meet her stare and reply, I am not jealous. Sienna, I am your creditor. Then I slide another sheet across the countertop. Assignment of mortgage note. Williamsburg penthouse. Holder of record, Ava Torres Grant, Ventures. The document lands like a gavel. Anger ignites. Sienna lunges as if to snatch the paper. But Agent Morris raises a hand. Ma'am, please refrain from obstructing a federal procedure. Chairs scrape. Colleagues step in. Professional, yet fascinated. Callie whispers. Your courtroom demeanor is flawless. Panic follows anger. Dad's face drains when Morris lists potential charges. Wire fraud. Money laundering. Tax evasion. Penalties could top $500,000. Plus incarceration. Mom mutters psalm verses under her breath. Then pleads, Ava, we are family. I remind her family should never feel like extortion. Desperation arrives last. My parents sign the inventory sheet, surrendering 2 MacBooks, 3 phones, and a stack of ledgers they carried for safekeeping. As agents seal evidence boxes, news alerts ping across watchers' screens. Bright life pastors under federal investigation. Somewhere in digital space, Sienna's balcony scandal still circulates. Sponsors publicly review partnerships. By 3 o'clock, the agents exit with Pelican cases, leaving behind stunned silence and the faint smell of roasted turkey. I clear my throat. Everyone, thank you for your patience. Dinner is served. Plates clatter. Conversations restart in cautious murmurs. The Torres trio occupies the far end of the sofa. No longer hosts, but exhibits. Halfway through pumpkin tart, Evan leans over. You realize this footage will train future agents on conflict of interest protocol. I nod. Educational value is a bonus. Across the room, Sienna scrolls through a public relations email suggesting a temporary account deactivation. Mom signs a retainer agreement with a criminal defense attorney recommended by a parishioner. Dad stares out the window, as though the river might baptize the mess away. I finish my espresso and stand. Before we close the evening, one clarification, I say, voice steady. The mortgage on your condo is now 90 days delinquent. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., a notice of default will post. Sienna, you may contact my office for deed in lieu terms. Dylan signed preliminary divorce papers. They will reach you as well. Every witness hears. Legal. Factual. Unemotional. A collective rustle of papers answers me. The power dynamic has flipped so cleanly it feels mathematical. Years of unbalanced equations finally solved. Yet I know numbers alone do not end stories. The justice system still has to grind. Sentencing must happen. And I must decide what peace looks like when the chase ends. December drifts in behind the raid, soft as falling ash. While reporters stake out Bright Life's gates, I finish packing the last box in our Manhattan apartment. Michael slides the lease termination across the counter. By evening, we are driving north, headlights carving a tunnel through cold air. The Hudson Valley farmhouse greets us with silence so deep, I can hear frost crack along the porch rail. I flip the breaker. Light floods cedar beams. And for the first time in months, my shoulders drop. News breaks the following week. A grand jury indicts Dad on 3 counts of wire fraud and Mom on aiding and abetting. Sienna's sponsors sever ties. Her follower count nosedives from 2 million to under 800,000 in 5 days. She posts a handwritten apology. Comments disable within an hour. Then the account vanishes entirely. The internet is brutal. But math is fair when trust evaporates. So does ad revenue. Mid-December brings another headline. Dylan files for divorce citing financial deception. The Williamsburg condo, now in my portfolio, moves to a nonprofit that shelters domestic violence survivors. A pro bono real estate clinic handles the paperwork. Closing costs are covered by my first trial bonus. A circle I find oddly satisfying. January 5th. Sentencing day. Arrives clear and cold. I watch the Orlando courtroom via secure link from our farmhouse loft. Dad stands in a navy suit 2 shades darker than the one he wore on Thanksgiving. The judge outlines donation misuse, tax evasion, and the ripple effect on congregants. Final ruling. 24 months in federal custody, followed by 3 years supervised release. Mom receives 12 months of house arrest and owes full restitution. The camera cuts to a pew where former church members sit stone-faced. One woman wipes tears with a bulletin. I feel no glee, only a quiet click, like a lock sliding home. 2 weeks later, an envelope from the Internal Revenue Service arrives, heavy with official seals. Inside lies confirmation of my whistleblower award, $67,500. Payable once Bright Life's penalties clear. I sign the acceptance and draft a second check. 10% to the Abandoned Brides Relief Fund. Michael reads the note, smiles, and says, "Closure makes the best gift. Life expands in steadier shapes now. We spend mornings sanding heart pine floors, afternoons marking nursery walls, a gentle sage. At our first ultrasound, 2 flickers appear on the screen. Twins. Measuring strong. The sonographer laughs when she hears our story. She calls them double justice. I like the sound. Spring thaw turns mud to grass. I plant tulip bulbs along the stone fence. Each scoop of soil a small declaration. Nothing stolen, nothing owed. Nights settle with owl calls and the distant hum of freight trains. Sometimes I replay the GoPro footage, not for triumph, but as a reminder of boundary lines etched in permanent ink. People still ask if it was revenge. I tell them revenge seeks pain. Accountability seeks balance. One corrodes. The other restores. My ledger is even now, financially, emotionally, spiritually. The family that drained me must rebuild without my credit line. And I wish them the clarity earned only in silence. If your relatives label exploitation as loyalty, remember, documentation is armor, and patience is strategy. Gather your facts. Guard your peace. Act when the evidence, not the anger, is complete. Share your stories of standing up to family pressure in the comments. And hit subscribe for more narratives where calm truth dismantles loud deceit. Your boundaries can save more than money. They can save you. A full year has passed since the raid, and the farmhouse hums with the steady rhythm of ordinary days. Dawn begins with the kettle whistling, blue steam curling across wide plank floors I once sanded by hand. 2 high chairs frame the kitchen window. In them sit Leo and Clara, 10 months old, slapping pureed peaches against bamboo trays, while the sun lifts over the Catskills. Their laughter sounds like clean water over stone. After breakfast, I buckle the twins into a double jogger and push along the gravel lane. The land is ours now, taxes paid. Title clear. No strings hidden in small print. Tulip bulbs planted last spring, flame red against fresh grass. A quiet audit of seasons kept. I pass the split rail fence. Remember the night I traced offshore wires under courthouse fluorescents, and feel no lingering heat. Justice, once served, cools into simple fact. News from Florida arrives occasionally, filtered through public records. Dad teaches literacy classes in a minimum security facility. Release comes next autumn. Mom completes her restitution installments by sewing uniforms for a hospital chain. Sienna moved to Nashville, launched a podcast about radical accountability, and hovers around 40,000 listeners. I neither follow nor block her. Indifference is its own gate. Money flows in slower, steadier streams. The Internal Revenue Service reward landed last month $67,500, minus taxes. We set aside college funds, then donated the promised 10% to the Abandoned Brides Relief Fund. Their thank you letter hangs beside the pantry door, a small frame around bigger meaning. Most evenings, Michael and I sit on the porch swing, twins asleep upstairs, and watch freight trains thread the valley. Sometimes he asks if I miss Manhattan's pulse. I tell him I have traded neon for starlight. Constant proof that bright need not mean loud. He smiles, touches my shoulder, and the silence feels earned instead of empty. Listeners from my channel still write. Their stories echo mine. Siblings who drain accounts, parents who weaponize guilt, partners who mistake generosity for permission. I respond when I can, always with the same 3 steps: document, strategize, act, evidence before emotion, plan before confrontation. The method is mundane, almost boring, yet it shields like armor. A week ago, I spoke at Fordham's Ethics Symposium. During the Q&A, a student asked whether exposing family felt like betrayal. I answered that betrayal happens in secret, not in sunlight. Auditing harm is the opposite of treason. It is a vote for truth. The room went quiet. Pens paused, and I knew some listener needed the sentence as badly as I once did. Tonight, a soft rain begins around midnight. Leo fusses, dreaming perhaps of the day. So I lift him to my shoulder. In the rocking chair, I whisper the lesson no ledger can teach. We owe the world our honesty, not our silence. The storm passes, the baby settles, and house lights dim one by one. Before sleep, I schedule tomorrow's upload. Boundaries as legacy: how to end generational debt. In the description, I invite viewers to share victories, not just wounds. The algorithm likes outrage, but healing deserves airtime, too. I press publish, close the laptop, and let darkness fold over the farmhouse like a quilt. Share your chapter of reclamation in the comments below. Subscribe for weekly tools on quiet power. And remember, respect is a renewable resource, but only when guarded. Draw your lines in permanent ink. Then watch new horizons open beyond them.